I'm going to show you how to write a press release
This video is brought to you by Abi Pies Academy.
for anything. In this case, I'm going to walk you through a press release that I wrote for my book. And let me just tell you a little bit about my book so that you know what we're talking about here. Here is the listing of my book on Amazon. It's basically a book on how to go from business idea to actually starting a business. And it's based on research I did of 300,000 entrepreneurs who have used my mobile apps in the past. And so basically, all the questions they were asked are answered in this book. So because the sample set is so big of so many entrepreneurs that I researched, chances are it addresses a lot of the issues that any new entrepreneur is going to have, and any questions they might have is going to be covered in this book. So, very high chance of that, extremely comprehensive. So now you understand. And this really segues well into having a press release, because one of the most important things is in a press release is that it should be something interesting and noteworthy, right? So because I did so much research for this, it's a little bit noteworthy. And it's a unique angle at things, right? It's not just another book on how to start a business. I mean, there are a ton of these. This one is quite unique because it's really based on research of 300,000 people, which is quite big. And also, just a segue, just a little bit of a side point, whenever you have any kind of statistics or anything that makes your work look more authoritative, more backed by research, that is much better. So that whole 300,000 entrepreneurs thing, it adds a lot of credibility to the title, right? So research of 300,000 people. It's not like going from your own experience. It's quite substantial. So anyway, that is a little bit of a segue. But what I wanted to mention is that what you have to, whatever you're promoting, there has to be some interesting concept, interesting angle, so that the potential reader of this press release, who is a journalist, so that it catches their eye. And so here the angle is, I did a lot of research, and an incredible amount of research, really, if you think about this number, and there's an association with mobile apps because the research was done of users of a mobile app, and mobile apps are still sort of like a hot and new and exciting thing. So all that sort of adds to the uniqueness and interest level of the title of the press release. And the press release title is an extremely important thing because most of the time it's the only thing people will see. The title is the first thing people will see, and the title makes people decide whether they're going to look at more of the press release. So the title has to sort of come out with a bang. And this one, you'll be the judge of whether it comes out with a bang here. Most comprehensive book on how to start a business, based on research of 300,000 entrepreneurs. I could have added entrepreneurs who used the Problemio.com apps for entrepreneurs. It's getting a little bit it's getting to be a long title, but these are all sorts of the kinds of things that they make the press release a little better. And what happens when, let's say the journalists, for example, they were interested, the title caught their eye. Well, what you want to do is have a subtitle, right? So this is the title, and this is the subtitle of a press release. It's sort of the subtitle is supposed to be longer now, but we made our title so long that it's about the same length. What the purpose of the subtitle is to reiterate and reinforce some of the interesting key points, right? So here actually it's interesting because see, I do mention the apps, right? Problemio business apps reached 300,000 downloads, packaged every question entrepreneurs ever asked and they faced, and answered them in this most comprehensive book on how to start a business. Okay, so the title is supposed to get the attention, and the subtitle is supposed to reiterate the uh, the points of the title. Okay, make the reader a little bit more interested. And the subtitle is seen only once a person clicks on the press release, and the title may be seen independently, and that will be the deciding factor of whether the journalist clicks on your press release or not to learn more about it. So the title has to be incredibly attention grabbing, whereas the subtitle has to be kind of, building interest on top of the initial title. Now let's get to the body of the press release. Here, here's the structure in the beginning. City, you want to mention where you're posting the press release, date, things like that, right? And then you start to get into the copy, the body of the press release. A couple of points on the press release body. You want to write it as a kind of a story, right? A big part of it at least should be written as a story, and you should have quotes in it. So, for example, if you look at it carefully, I have a few quotes here. Alex says, and by the way, I wrote this press release, but still you have to write it as though the journalist is kind of taking your interview, because it's just better, because the journalist can then copy and paste this right into a story, right? Because the journalists are very busy and they don't always have time to write a unique story. So the more you can just help write a story for them, the better. So here I have a quote. It makes the article look like the journalist actually got in touch with me and interviewed me. So here's a quote. There's another quote somewhere in here. See, you write it like this, Kiradinix, that's my last name, says the book covers blah 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 blah. So the quote ends here. It's like an entire quote, and you kind of